So something huge just happened in the world of artificial intelligence, a major event that signals a real power shift is underway. India just made it crystal clear that it's done being a spectator. It's stepping into the ring to be a contender, maybe even a rule maker. Let's break down what this massive power play really means for India and, for the rest of the world. I want you to think about those moments in history that changed absolutely everything, like the discovery of electricity or the beginning of the nuclear age. Well, the leaders at this summit are talking about AI in exactly those terms. They don't see it as just another piece of tech, they see it as a fundamental force of nature. And that quote, man, it really sets the stage, signaling that a new major player wants a hand in writing the rules for our future. So, what exactly was this event? It was called the Global AI Impact Summit, and it was held in New Delhi. You can think of it as India's very public, very loud statement of intent. This was all about moving from the sidelines right into the center of the global AI conversation and saying, hey, we're here to lead. And who was in the room tells you everything you need to know. Seriously, this was not just another tech conference. It was hosted by India's national AI mission, and it brought together a real who's who. Global tech CEOs, world leaders, top policymakers, all under one roof. The stated goal? To stop talking about abstract fears and theories and to start talking about real-world applications and impact, especially for the nations of the global south. To guide this whole new conversation, the summit was built on 3 core principles, or as they called them, sutras. First up is people, making sure AI serves humanity and preserves our dignity, not tears it down. The second is planet, which demands that this huge wave of innovation has to be sustainable and actually help us solve our environmental challenges. And the third, progress, is this big commitment that the incredible benefits of AI have to be shared by everyone, equitably, bridging divides instead of making them worse. It's a really powerful framework that kind of sets a uniquely human-centric tone for everything else. But listen, this summit wasn't just about philosophy and good ideas. It was backed by some absolutely staggering financial commitments. And it's all aimed at building what's being called sovereign AI. Just think of that as a nation's ability to develop and use AI on its own terms, with its own infrastructure, without having to depend on anyone else. Okay, first announcement, and you might want to sit down for this one, a massive commitment from Reliance in Geo. We are talking 10 lakh crores. That's roughly 120 billion US dollars, pledged over the next 7 years. Mukesh Ambani said this isn't speculative cash. He called it patient, disciplined, nation-building capital. This is about long-term strategy. And it's not just domestic players. The global tech giants are placing huge bets too. Google announced a $15 billion investment in India's infrastructure, and the centerpiece of that is a brand new full-stack AI hub in the city of Visakhapatnam, which is designed to handle the whole shebang, from data storage to model training. And that Google hub, turns out it's just one piece of a much, much grander vision. We're talking about a planned AI data city, also in Visakhapatnam, with a total projected investment of $175 billion. That's not just a data center, folks. That's an entire ecosystem being planned from the ground up to anchor India's AI leadership for decades to come. So what is all this money actually going to build? Well, first you've got gigawatt-scale data centers. This gives them independent computing power. Next, a domestic hardware ecosystem. Think GPU farms and semiconductors. A huge focus is also on green energy to power this whole thing sustainably. And finally, nationwide edge compute, which is a fancy way of saying they're bringing AI's power closer to every single citizen and business by processing data locally, making it faster and more responsive. Okay, so we have the philosophy, and we definitely have the money. Let's hear from the architects of this vision. Because when you listen to the key speakers, a really clear and unified message about the future they're trying to build starts to emerge. Mukesh Ambani framed this moment as a fundamental choice for the entire world, kind of like a fork in the road. He said one path leads to a future where AI is scarce, it's expensive, and it's controlled by just a few, which only widens inequality. The other path, the one he's pushing for, is a future where AI is available, it's affordable, and it benefits everyone. And he had this one line that just perfectly captures the whole spirit of the summit. India cannot afford to rent intelligence. And Google CEO Sundar Pichai was right there with him. His core message was both a warning and a call to action. He pointed out that the world has already struggled with the digital divide. The crucial thing now is to invest in the right infrastructure and access to make absolutely sure that we don't create a much wider and, frankly, more dangerous AI divide. So, what's the ultimate goal of all this? What's the big prize? Well, Demis Hassabis, the CEO of Google DeepMind, he painted this incredibly optimistic picture. He believes we are right on the edge of a new golden era, where AI becomes the ultimate tool for science, helping us solve some of humanity's biggest and oldest challenges, everything from drug discovery to climate change. So when you put all of this together, the philosophy, the jaw-dropping amounts of money, the unified vision, what you start to see is a deliberate attempt to pivot the entire global conversation around AI. You know, for a while now, the global AI conversation, especially in the West, has often been dominated by safety, risk, and these big existential threats. Well, India is proposing a major strategic shift here, a move away from a narrative of fear and toward a narrative of impact. So less focus on what could go wrong and a lot more focus on practical deployment, social good, and real-world development outcomes. So what's the bottom line here? What does this all mean? Well, first, this summit clearly positions India to be a rule-maker in the age of AI. It champions a voice for the global South, aiming to make AI governance way more inclusive. It's forcefully trying to shift the entire narrative from risk to impact. And, crucially, it's backing all of this up with massive capital investment, which signals a very serious, very long-term ambition for leadership on the world stage. And this leaves us with a really fascinating and frankly, a critical question for our future. As more and more nations start to follow this path of building their own sovereign AI capabilities, is that going to lead to a world of shared progress and democratic access? Or could it lead to new kinds of digital walls and even more concentrated power? It's a future that is literally being written as we speak. For more explainers just like this one, make sure you subscribe.